Welcome to the Boardroom Company Live. This is the podcast for professionals who want to build a board career. Now, today I'm going to be sharing with you the toughest interview question that I have found. And the reason it's so difficult is not because it's some sort of question that's going to catch you out. It's because the toughest interview question is so broad and so at the potential to have a lot of different outcomes that it essentially makes it difficult because people will go in all kinds of different directions. And there's a great way to answer this question, and there are lots and lots of terrible ways to answer this question. Now, if you're listening and you're looking for a job, I'll give you some thoughts on that. But if you're listening and you're looking for a board seat and you're just thinking, what should I be preparing? This is the one interview question. And the question is, tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. Every single meeting, every single interview, somebody is going to ask, tell me about yourself. Board interview, job interview. Now, there's a few caveats to this. They are not somebody that you've just met in the street. They are someone that is sitting across a table from you or perhaps a Zoom, and they probably already have your resume, CV, they have your bio, they've read your LinkedIn, they've done their research. The reason you're sitting in that room is because they're probably already convinced that you can do the job, right? You've been selected. So the mistake that I think a lot of people make is they decide that they're going to tell them about this. They're going to go through their entire resume. And this is such a miss. People don't want to hear what they already know. They want to hear the things that they cannot see in the resume, they don't hear or they don't read in the LinkedIn. And what are some of those things? Well, they're more subtle things. They're going to be if you have a culture fit with the company, if you have a nice style of communicating, depending on your body movements and your body language and how you address people. So tell me about yourself. It's quite a packed question. Here are some of the things that you can think about and how you can structure it. So the first part of tell me about yourself should be, who are you today? What's your title or the area or the industry or the expertise? Who are you today? I see too many people going back to, well, I graduated, from X university with this degree, but I decided to switch. That has absolutely no relevance. It's not impactful. And also, I want a first impression to be quite impressive, right? If I meet somebody. So who are you today? I'm a chief marketing officer. I'm a technology specialist in artificial intelligence. I'm a program manager, right? You might be looking for a job. You might say, I'm currently a program manager and I work across these industries. Or you might say, I'm currently a board director on a couple of nonprofit boards. I'm also an advisory board member of a corporation. And I recently left my role at KPMG and then I retired as a senior partner there. That gives me the full picture of who I'm looking at right now. So start out with, who are you today? The next step is you can bring in sort of why you do what you do. Everything written on your resume, it's just roles and titles and some achievements, maybe some activities. What I want to hear is, why are you passionate about this space? Why do you care? And at this point, it's really important that you know who you're speaking to. So what is the job at hand? What is the board role that's at hand? And now you want to make a reference to either what they do, the role, the company, the industry. Why do you do what you do? Should always be relevant to something that relates to them. The third one is, what makes you qualified to do what you do? Now, for a board position, I would talk about board experience, where you've presented to the board, where you have been on a board, you've been on a nonprofit board, or you've been on an advisory board. Tell us a little bit about the things that were interesting. Hey, I served on this committee. I was chair of that committee. We were involved in a CEO succession plan. And so we worked through that. We collaborated with the board. Make sure that, you're describing the experience that really matters, because I think when people are listening, they're really listening for, where does this person fit in here, and why do they have what it takes? And if this is a job, talk about your experience, talk about the companies you worked for, make it relevant to the role that you are thinking about, right? That you're applying for, that you're sitting in a room with. The whole point is you want to impress them. If you think about your career as sort of like a million dots, right? There's a million dots out there, and you can pull any one of those dots. You can talk about the fact that you worked abroad or not. You can talk about the fact that you were involved with an M&A transaction or possibly hold that back. You can talk about the fact that you have worked in a digital environment or maybe not, or a B2B or a B2C. I feel like telling people too much when they ask you, tell me about yourself, it sort of muddies the message, right? So make sure that the experience, the education, and anything else that might be relevant, it is relevant to the company and it is relevant to the role. And then the fourth piece is, do your research on the culture of the business. Do your research on the type of business it's in. Look at the backgrounds of the senior leadership team. Get a sense for what they stand for as a business. Do they really care about sustainability? Do they really care about people? Do they really care about doing the right thing? Or do they have a very intense work environment? I know there are companies out there that say, hey, our company might not be for you, right? We work hard here. We do this, this, and this. Now you have to showcase your fit with their culture. And that's step number 4. So what is the fit with their culture? It could be that you enjoy fast-paced, hard-working environments and you're a team player and that you collaborate, but you can also work alone. Or it could be the sustainability piece where you say that, my family, my values, my personal values, are to choose sustainable product options when I do purchase things. And that's something that I bring into the workplace and I think is important. What's your leadership style? Read up on their leadership style. Do you mesh? And if you're reading up on their leadership style and their culture and nothing is really connecting, maybe this isn't the job that you should be applying for, or perhaps it's not the board role that you should be applying for, because this is not going to last long if you don't have that, you don't have some things in common. So share the more personal side. What do you have in common? A few things to consider. So those are the 4 parts. One is, who are you today? Second is, why do you do what you do? Why are you passionate about what they do? And why does it overlap with what you do? And then what makes you qualified to do what you do? So if there's anything, sort of bring in experiences, bring in education, courses, things that you've done, things that you've learned, maybe something you read recently, right? Bring that in. And then number 4, your style of working, your cultural fit, your leadership style potentially too, if you're going for a more senior level role. But with boards, it's the same thing. Your style on a board is so important. You might want to mix up the language a little bit and say, as a board director, I value collaboration. I value preparation before board meetings. And I'm very passionate about, bringing people together to make great decisions for the business, or something like that, right? So, what's your style? How do you work? You don't want to come in with the big ego, but you also don't want to come in with lack of confidence where it feels like you'll always be in the back, watching what everyone else votes for and then voting for whatever everyone else goes with. So you have to kind of choose your words wisely. And then language. If you are looking for a job, use language that is used in that particular job. So do your research. You probably already know, because it may be a job you're already in, so you can use some of that language. But if it's a brand new area, a new focus, a new job, start to speak as if you were in the role. And then if it's a board role, you really need to use board level language. So when you talk about your board experience, talk about the committees you served on, talk about what you're qualified to lead a boardroom discussion on, talk about things like, I hate that risks associated with cybersecurity and artificial intelligence or human capital. You might want to say, I'm also quite passionate about exploring opportunities that can be derived from artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, crisis management, or whatever that might be, right? So choose your words wisely, and really think about how you structure this sentence and how you structure this answer. I think too many people go and prepare other questions, but hey, tell me about yourself, it's likely going down. I'm probably 99% sure it's going to come up in every interview. It's almost the polite way. Hey, introduce yourself, right? You have to be very careful about what you say. It's the first impression. And some have the tendency to go off in all sorts of tangents and tell a long story that they've already read, right? So think about, what do they not know? What do they need to know about me? And good luck with your interviews. If you'd like any help with an interview, I do interview skills sessions, one-to-one. I go through questions that you might get asked, and we think about how we're going to structure them. I will say this: practicing interview questions before an interview is probably one of the most powerful things that you can do. It builds confidence. And when you get into the room, you will feel just so much better about the questions that come your way. And they may not ask the questions exactly how I have asked them, right? There may be a slight, change on the question, but you know what the answers are. And then one other thing to think about is practice, because even some stories you may have forgotten about. And so I like to remind people that we've had long careers, and even those who haven't had really long careers, you've still done things that you may have forgotten about. So practicing interview techniques and practicing questions that might get asked in an interview with someone, me or a friend or someone else, really does help to get you prepared. So everyone, thank you for listening. Good luck with any interviews that you have this month and into the new year. And that's it from the Boardroom Company Live. See you soon.